Hi, it's been a while. Here we are. It's May. Um, I have not been very good at reading or writing the last 2 or so months. Not exactly sure what happened, but I kind of hit a slump and stayed there. And now I'm trying to dig myself out of it. So here we are. So I'm going to review the 4 books I read in March and April. So I read 2 books in March and I read 2 books in April. Um, and that was a huge accomplishment for me for those 2 months because I was just not in the mood. And yeah, I'm not really sure what happened. I think some of it had to do with the books I picked, but not all of it. So here we go. Um, the first book I read in March was Pretty Little Girls by Jennifer Ruff. I read it on my Kindle. Um, I am enjoying the series with her. So Victoria Heslin is the FBI agent. She's the main protagonist in the books, and this one was the second one. She accidentally uncovers a trafficking ring when a high society teenage girl goes missing. So while investigating her kidnapping, she discovers A, why she was taken, and B, that there's more girls out there. And so a little dark, but still very good. I love the character. I think she is amazing and well written. I love that she loves dogs and she rescues dogs, and she's very passionate about her job. So it's really fun. I love when the lead characters are female detective agents or FBI agents because, you know, girl power and all that. It's just fun to see those characters come alive. Um, so I enjoyed the book. If you like detective stories, I would definitely recommend it, and definitely start with the first one. You don't need to have read the first one to read the second one. There's more to the series. I don't know how many there are, but I am going to read all of them eventually. My TBR is forever long and it keeps growing, so I'll get to them all. My second book of March was The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. This is my first, I think this is my first Ruth Ware book. I could be wrong. I think it's my first one. Um, I had high expectations for this book because I've heard so much about it, and I still I gave it 3 stars. I don't know why I didn't love it. The main character was a little annoying. She is a reporter and she ends up getting robbed in the beginning of the book, and then she goes on this small cruise. It's a brand new cruise liner. There's only 10 rooms in this cruise ship. It's supposed to be like this high upscale cruise ship, super expensive. She gets to go because she's a reporter. And um, her first night there, she hears noises and like kind of sees something. She thinks she sees a murder, and nobody believes her, and she doesn't know what to make of it because whoever she can't figure out who was murdered because there's nobody missing, and she can't figure out who the murderer was. And in kind of investigating it, she kind of makes a mess of things for herself. And she's also a severe alcoholic, which I didn't love. So her character wasn't very likable. In the end, you do end up rooting for her, but overall, not very likable. So I don't know. I I'm not alone in my review, but I know there's a lot of people out there that loved the book. So um, if you like a mystery and you want to give it a try, I say go for it. I just wasn't a huge fan. It was, I mean, I finished it. It was interesting enough to make me want to get to the end and figure out what happened, but it did take me a while to read it. But it could also be the fact that I just wasn't in the reading mood in March. So who knows? Uh, I also only read 2 books in April. So I actually ended up going to the bookstore with my daughter because I thought if I walked around Barnes and Noble, maybe that will would make me want to read more. And so I actually took a while. I kind of browsed the mystery thriller genre. Nothing really stuck out to me, and so I went to the horror genre, and I was like, that's what I'm in the mood for. Something scary, something creepy. So I ended up finding this book, The Last House on Needless Street by Catriona Ward. And I don't know about you guys, but before I buy a book, I read the reviews. I'm sitting there on my phone Googling reviews, and it was all over the place. And I couldn't decide if I wanted to listen to the bad reviews or the good reviews. And my daughter finally said, just buy the book if it's something that intrigues you. And so I said, okay, it does intrigue me, so I bought it. And I forget how long this one took me to read, but I also only read 2 books in April, so I think this took me over a week to get through. A little boring in the beginning, but I did figure out fairly quickly part of the plot. I missed something along the lines that made me miss there was a surprise in the end for me, but I had already figured out the gist of it. I don't want to give too much away. I wanted it to be a horror book. I really did. And it wasn't. Not for me. It wasn't creepy for me. There's definitely the mystery component to it, and a little bit, I wouldn't say creepy, but like, I don't even know the word. I guess to some people they might think it's creepy. I'm a little desensitized from horror because we all like horror in my house, and I grew up watching horror movies, and it takes a lot to get me scared of something. So it wasn't scary to me at all. Definitely more mystery thriller type, I would say. There's a cat. There is a cat. He's very cute. Or she. It was a girl. And you do get some of the chapters from the perspective of the cat. So that was kind of fun to see. And she did a good job writing about the cat. But I gave it 3 stars only because I wasn't scared reading it. But it was an interesting premise. Like I said, I had it figured out for the most part, but it was interesting, and I can see why some people would think it's kind of scary or creepy. It just didn't do that for me. And then the last book of April for me, my second book, was All In. It is part of the Naturals series. This is book number 3. I am enjoying the series, and I can't wait to read the 4th one, but I have a long TBR, and I'm still working through it. So if you're not familiar with the Naturals, it's a series it's 4 books, and it's about these teenagers. They're all about 16, 17 years old, and they get my mind is drawing a blank. Not captured. They're not captured. But they end up getting, the word will come to me at some point. They work for the FBI. So they go and live in a house with one guy that takes care of them. He's in charge of the house, an FBI agent. And they all have some kind of natural ability that helps the FBI solve cases. So our main character is Cassie, and she's a profiler. She's very gifted in the gift of profiling, and she helps them solve cases. She's also trying to solve her mother's disappearance, and in this book, she actually discovers what happened to her mother, but it's very brief and it's right at the end, so we won't know all the details until the 4th book, which I kind of knew was coming that way. And then we have Dean, who's another profiler, and he is the son of a serial killer. And when his father was captured, Dean was actually the first one to come into this Naturals program with the FBI. It was kind of created around him so that he didn't get lost in the system. And then Leah can tell whether or not you're lying, and Sloane is really good with numbers. She's actually the main focus of this book, which was really neat to learn more about Sloane. So it does take place in Las Vegas. There's a serial killer, and the serial killer is obsessed with numbers, and that's like Sloane's powerhouse. She can see numbers everywhere, and she's really good at figuring things out. And so she's the major problem solver to find a serial killer in this book, which I really, really liked. She was a fun character to get to know. And then we have Michael, who can read emotions. He's still a little annoying to me. He's a little too spoiled, I guess, but um, he's a decent character. He gets decent-ish in this book. So those are the characters, and there's a serial killer who's obsessed with the I'm gonna butcher this name, Fibonacci code in the books. He's obsessed with it, and so when he kills his victims, he puts numbers on their wrists, and Sloane is the one that figures out what the numbers mean. And so it's just the kids. They actually end up staying in Vegas and trying to find his murderer because he's murdering a person a day. And it was fun to see them like on the field as as best as they could be, because they don't allow the kids to be like normal FBI agents. They kind of stay hidden. But I'm really excited for the fourth book because in each book you do learn a little bit more about Cassie's past, and like she believes her mom was murdered, but they never found a body. So you get to see little snippets of it in each of the 3 books, and it's gonna come in play on the 4th book. So I'm excited to read the 4th one. I am currently reading a book called The Toy Box. A friend of mine lent it to me because she really enjoyed it. And then I have another book that I have already promised to read that I'm going to review. And then maybe I'll get to, it's called Bad Blood, which will be the 4th book of the Natural series. I don't know. Like I said, my TBR is really long. I'm looking at it right now, and all these books are staring at me. And I actually went out earlier today and requested that we visit a bookshop, and my husband said no. We were out on a date, and he said we have enough books at home. And as sad as I was with that, I did agree. I would like to get through a few more of these books before I bring more in the house. But yeah, these were my books for March and April. Only 4 in those 2 months, and that's okay. Definitely slow down on my reading. And then this month, I told myself I'd read more, and I'm on my 2nd book, which I'm enjoying it. So I'm trying not to focus so much on, I read 10 books this month or however many books, and just enjoying the process of reading. And there's so much to get done during the day. I can't just sit and read all day as much as I wish I could. So, and I'm also trying to write more. I put that aside for 2 months as well. And my husband is a writer. He's published, if you didn't know. And he's currently working on a book. It will be his first prose novel. He writes graphic novels. He illustrates his own work and everything, and he's really awesome at it. But he is writing his first prose novel, and so he is a very hard worker, very diligent. And so I'm trying to be more like him and work a little bit each day. And he encourages me and pushes me to do that, and I appreciate it, even though sometimes I call him annoying. I want the book finished. Like, I know I have a story to tell, and I'm really excited for these characters. It's just, writing is very hard. And having the discipline to sit and do it regardless of how you're feeling is very hard. If you're a creative person, you know that being creative ties in with your emotions. And if you're not feeling well, or if you're sad, or if you're tired, you don't feel like being creative. And he tells me to write anyways, which I'm glad. And I'll tell you why. it does take a lot for me to sit and write when I'm in those moods. But once I sit down and start writing, it does come out. It may not be great, but I'm still on my first. Actually, I'm not even in the first draft. I'm just kind of writing out ideas for each chapter. So, which I like. It's my first time doing it this way. Um, anyways, that's my spiel. So maybe by next year I'll have a book fully finished. I did write a book last year. It is finished, but it's in a drawer because it needs to be edited, and I needed a break from that world. So this book is in a different world, um, and it is a thriller mystery, which is my favorite. So, anyways, hopefully I'll get finished. So yeah, I am going to get. I'm actually gonna go sit and write, and then read for a little bit. So I hope you guys are reading and getting all the books finished. Thanks for joining.